Viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
China caught red-handed lying about its giant spy balloon hovering over America. It was last spotted this morning in northeast Kansas, and that's after it was seen loitering in Montana, which is home to our nuclear silos and intercontinental ballistic missiles. Beijing claims it is a civilian aircraft used for meteorological research.
Through the night. The war is not over. The true enemy won't wait out the storm. He brings the storm.
There's
100,000 children go missing a year under 16. 100,000.
We assess that the balloon does not present a military or physical threat to people on the ground at this time.
Face it together.
So why the hell hasn't Joe Biden shot this thing down yet?
Any potential debris field would be significant and potentially cause civilian injuries or deaths or significant property damage.
You serious?
Could have shot that balloon down, and the biggest risk might have been hitting a cow, a prairie dog,
Defense
or an
officials have
antelope.
advised the president not to take it out.
That is not by any means a coincidence. From the open source intel that I've read, is that they were actively signal intelligence gathering balloons, and what they were doing was pulling the codes of our terrestrial-based missileer centers in Montana and Wyoming and North Dakota, and even down in Nebraska. Most people don't realize Nebraska is one of our chief centers for all nuclear deterrent and nuclear weapons launching. STRATCOM and all that kind of stuff is outside of Omaha. But that the open source intel said that they specifically were allowed by our government to pull the codes to impede the launch directives from the nuclear football contained within inside the executive branch, to delay them by 6 minutes. It was very specific, to delay a nuclear retaliatory strike by 6 minutes.
Why?
Side note on that.
Why would they
the
do
United
that?
States
No big deal.
Another investigation is underway in Ohio after a cargo train has derailed for a second time in a month. That's right. Officials say about 20 cars of the 212-car train went off the tracks in the city of Springfield on Saturday evening. Now, it's owned by Norfolk Southern Railway. That's the same company that owned the freight train that was transporting toxic materials when it derailed in East Palestine last month.
A runaway train derailing in the Mojave Desert, causing a mangled mess. A bird's eye view of the wreckage showing a large area of the desert blackened after Union Pacific officials say 55 cars and 2 locomotives derailed.
A huge fire at an egg farm in eastern Connecticut.
This all happened on Saturday at Hillendale Farm in Basra. This is video right here of fire and smoke just ravaging a large chicken coop there. And today we learned the farm lost 100,000 chickens.
11th in Washington.
Also staying on top of a massive fire this morning that scorched thousands of pots at a plant nursery supply store in Osceola County.
At least 2 acres of pallets holding thousands of plastic pots caught fire.
Just to our south, this is in Salinas, a huge fire at a food processing plant. This is for Taylor Farms.
It's a total loss right now.
Breaking news in Chesapeake, where crews responded to a business fire this evening at Purdue Farms. Multiple crews helped put out the blaze. We learned from officials it happened in a soybean processing tank.
Thanks for joining us. Fire broke out at a food processing plant last night in Cambridge. No one was hurt, but people were forced to leave the building.
This video you see was taken this morning in the area where the Grand River Foods plant is located on Vondro Drive. Cambridge fire officials say the fire broke out around 5:10 p.m. last evening. 5 stations were called out to the scene to put out the flames at the food processing plant. They say there isn't much visual damage that can be seen, but the damage estimate was not provided at this time. No one was hurt. Officials say the building had to be evacuated, and the cause of the fire is not considered suspicious.
And the cause of the fire is not considered suspicious.
Everyone, I'm Erin Clark.
I'm Dan Green. We are starting with an update on efforts to rebuild a large food processing plant in Salinas, destroyed by fire more than 2 months ago. Owned and operated by Taylor Farms.
Black cloud of smoke was anything but normal.
Mind-blowing. It was really an intense plume. Damage on part of the...
burned down a barn with tens of thousands of chickens inside in Wright County overnight. The fire happened at Forsman Farms in Howard Lake, causing major damage. You see the smoke still smoldering there.
Is because there is actually an imminency that so few are paying attention to. And if your identity is not rooted in Christ alone, if your hope is in anything else other than Christ alone, if your refuge is in anything else other than Christ alone, if it's in your money, your ROA, your preps, your adult children to take care of you, the governments of the world, the systems of the world, if your hope, your faith, your trust, your refuge, your security, your shelter, your identity is in anything other than Jesus, the Lamb of God, and the soon coming conquering King who roars from on high, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, you are going to be so utterly overcome by these things.
Come out of her, my people. America is Babylon. The great whore, the great mystery Babylon. The mystery Babylon is the United States. It's all right there in the scriptures, man. And they just keep preaching John 3:16 every Sunday. John 3:16 over and over and over. God is love. God is love. Love, 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 love. Man, dude. Man. Lord, give me strength.
Speaking about the days of Noah and the days of Lot, he actually gave the qualifier for exactly what he was talking about. And I'll just read it real quick. This is Luke 17. Okay. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man. This is talking about the second coming of Jesus Christ. They ate, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, as it was also in the days of Lot, they ate, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But on the day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even so will it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. So Christ gives us the qualifier for why he's even referencing the days of Noah and the days of Lot. What he's saying is this. Let me give you the Cliff Notes, Jamie Walden style, right? Okay. What he's saying is everything is going to be totally normal until it's not. There's no great buildup. There's no great crescendo. There's no multi-year, long, protracted, grinding war and trench warfare. There's no slow economic decay where we just kind of reduce in our global empire status, like a Spain or like a Portugal or like a France or like the British Empire, all the empires throughout, the Greeks, the Romans, you name them. That's not what it's saying. It's saying everything will be totally normal until it's not. Actually, in Isaiah 17, it talks about the suddenly the crack and the bulge in the wall breaks. Suddenly, in an instant, disaster befalls you. Revelation 18. This is very unique to the United States of America. Mystery Babylon, the United States of America. It says, in a single day, in a single hour, in a single hour, in a single hour. Says it 3 times. Instantly, everything's totally normal, and then it's just done. It's instantly over, and the whole world is so rocked that it literally requires a restructuring of the whole face of the earth. So this gets into what's going on currently, even with Iran and Russia and China and Ukraine and Cuba and Argentina and Argentina and Guyana and the Congo and Everything is set at this fever pitch to do what God has already said he's going to do, which everything will be normal, and then it's not. And the particular nuance to that is the United States of America contained within that. Ezekiel 38 and 39 specifically list countries by name and some of the ruling principalities over those countries that will form an alliance conspiring in secret to come against the nation of unwalled villages. Hello, North American continent, United States of America in particular. And in an instant, while they're unaware, to completely do a decapitation attack so that they can come against the nation of Israel. And so what we see going on right now with Iranian influence, the Chinese influence, the Russian influence with inside the United States of America coming across our border in our cybernetics, inside our power grid, inside our government, inside our joint chiefs, inside our county road commissioners, and the missile tests from Russia just on May 16th, right off the coast of California, literally just touching the border of our territorial waters. They put up a space-based anti-satellite weapon right overhead. North Korea has 2 satellites that traverse the continental United States multiple times a day for years, and they have never once sent data out. They are loitering munitions waiting for the single day, for the single hour. The Chinese balloon fiascos going on. That is not by any means a coincidence. They from the open source intel that I've read is that they were actively signal intelligence gathering balloons, and what they were doing was pulling the codes of our terrestrial-based missileer centers in Montana and Wyoming and North Dakota, and even down into Nebraska. Most people don't realize Nebraska is one of our chief centers for all nuclear deterrent and nuclear weapons launching. Stratcom and all that kind of stuff is outside of Omaha. But that the open source intel said that they specifically were allowed by our government to pull the codes to impede the launch directives from the nuclear football contained within inside the executive branch, to delay them by 6 minutes. It was very specific, to delay a nuclear retaliatory strike by 6 minutes.
Why?
Side note on that.
Why would they do
the United
that?
States, so that they can take down the central nationalistic, independent, free-thinking nation left on the face of the earth so that they can restructure. This is all part of the Great Reset plan, right? Like, this is the restructuring. They have to, there's only one stumbling block left, and it is the psyche, it is the posture and the spirit of Americana. That's what they have to destroy. And our own leadership is completely in league with these things. I've spoken on your show. I've talked to a guy who is actively in the Pentagon, actively knows the Joint Chiefs. He said every single one of them is bought and paid for by China. He said everyone. There's not one left who hasn't been bought and paid off by China to allow this thing to occur. So when we look at it biblically, and then we look at it tangibly, objectively, empirically, not with sensationalism or hyperbolic, blah, 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 clickbaity stuff, but it just is. This is what is actively going on right now in the continental United States, or the continental United States, and then throughout the rest of the world. Like this suddenly, this in an instant, this days of Noah, days of Lot is beating down our doors. This in a single day, in a single hour, it's coming. And here's where we can transition, Dave. What I truly believe is coming, in particular for the United States, we can make it U.S. centric right now, is that they are going to do the ultimate blow to the ultimate highest form of our arrogancy, which is our technological reliance and our power grid. Every single piece of chatter on the geopolitical sphere is all centered on the U.S. power grid being strategically taken down so that we are completely out of the fight in Europe. We're completely out of the fight in the Middle East. We're completely out of the fight in Asia and in the Yellow Sea and in the East Chinese Sea and out of the Pacific theater. We're completely out of the fight economically. We're completely out of fight technologically on every single level. We can bring nothing to bear to the fight. That is why the next thing, the suddenly in an instant, the single day, the single hour, Revelation 18, that it speaks to, I believe, because of what they're saying, is going to be the strategic takedown of the entire U.S. infrastructure through our power grid.
How will they accomplish it, in your opinion?
There's multiple ways. So most people are familiar with the higher level, like an EMP type attack, right? So we talked about the loitering munitions of North Korea. Also, Iran has publicly boasted and launched ballistic missiles from the sea. An Iranian national intelligence officer who became a defector said that test was specifically done for one singular reason: an EMP, a low altitude EMP burst over the United States of America. Anybody from Ted Koppel to the Deputy Secretary of Defense to a member of the Joint Chiefs have all warned that Russia, China, and Iran have 100% access to our power grid.
What weapon could silence an entire continent in 1 hour? The world has never seen one until a few years ago, with the creation of the electromagnetic pulse, or EMP. Over and over, think tanks like the EMP Commission, working for the Senate, have warned how this is the greatest and perhaps only real vulnerability of the United States. Yet no administration has done anything about it. We are completely unprepared for what's coming. Every report says the same thing. This event can wipe out 90% of Americans, and all it takes is just one warhead to be detonated above the United States to take us back to medieval times.
To get at America. And an easy way, quite frankly, is through an EMP attack, an electromagnetic pulse attack. One way to get at America. And an easy way, quite frankly, is through an EMP attack, an electromagnetic pulse attack.
Consider every major city in America, how does it get its water supply? Consider that every major city in America, its average food supply on hand is 21 to 28 days. Consider, where do we get our medication? Consider what happens in nursing homes and hospitals. What happens to our transportation grid? Anything driven that, well, most of them have computers in them, they're all gone.
What do you do in the case of an EMP? Electromagnetic pulse.
A burst of radiation that knocks out every electrical system in the country.
Impending doom.
What you reading, Dad?
Honey, everything's fine. There's nothing to worry about. When things go south, the sheeple will clean out every supermarket in town. Typical sheeple.
90%, let me repeat that, 90% of all Americans will die within 12 to 18 months after an EMP event. This study was done in 2008. Has anything been done since? No.
Our highly connected, just-in-time, efficient technological civilization to cause chaos that could cause tens of millions of Americans to die before it's sorted out.
Tens of millions?
Tens of millions, because if you have no electric power for 6 months to a year, you have no food delivery, you have no gasoline, you have no water. You think about that, it's pretty bad.
Well, that's a horrifying possibility. How are we protecting against that happening?
We're not.
Today, the old duck and cover films from Cold War days seem campy and quaint. To many, a nuclear blast and its resultant electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, seems so unimaginable, so unlikely, that few worry about it, and fewer still take any precautions.
It's not real, and it's something out of a James Bond movie. A general consensus is that it is not a real threat. It's not imminent by any stretch of the imagination.
We have information, for example, the data from actual high-altitude nuclear detonations that were conducted by us and the Russians back in the 1961-62 time frame that did things like knock the lights out in Hawaii.
An EMP is a short burst of electromagnetic energy that all nuclear explosions produce to varying degrees. A large EMP triggered over the United States from an orbiting nuke at the right altitude could fry the circuitry of cell phones, render electronic banking, automobile computers, railways, air traffic control, and airplanes themselves useless. Food would rot in refrigerators and in farm fields, with no means of transporting agri-products to population centers. In the following weeks and months, a truly Mad Max world would evolve.
The lasting effects will destroy society as we know it, exactly as the scriptures predicted. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine. Without hospitals or pharmacies being able to function, people won't be able to take their necessary medication. Without running water, heat, and garbage disposal, diseases will break out. As cars and trucks stop running, market shelves will become empty. Desperate people will become looters, and there will be food riots. There will be no police, no law, no health care, no help. It will all descend into chaos and confusion. A complete collapse of everything we take for granted today. As the prophet Jeremiah says, "And it shall be, when thou hast made an end of reading this book, that thou shalt bind it to a stone, and cast it into the midst of Euphrates. And thou shalt say, Thus shall Babylon sink, and shall not rise from the evil that it will bring upon her. And this is the start of the time of tribulation and sorrows. For then shall be a great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be." And yet, the prophet shows that there is still hope. But the ones who endures to the end will be saved. The message couldn't be any clearer. The warnings are there so that only the ones who believe the words and warnings of our Lord and prepare will be saved.
San Bravo, we're reading 70 bogeys in your sector. Please verify.
Very funny, Station. That's a big negative, over.
Yeah, might be a glitch in one of the ACS modules.
San Bravo, be advised, running diagnostics to scan for malfunction.
The skies are clear, Station. You've got yourself some phantom dots. Over.
Zulu X-Ray 6, signs in your sector of some 100 bogeys. Please advise.
Negatory, Station. Scope is clear. I don't know what to tell you. Solar interference, heavy sunspot activity today.
Sierra Delta, we may have a minor ACS fault here. Do you have anything on your scope? Sierra Delta, repeat.
I'm looking at fighter jets over I-95! How the hell did they
stand by, attempting to contact the nearest unit in that sector. All stations be advised. Satellite surveillance has been disabled.
War happens, the United States must be the first target. That is why the prophets foretell that at the start of this war, Russia will unexpectedly use a very special weapon, the weapon of indignation, against the whole territory of the U.S., a weapon like which the world has never seen. The Holy Book shows how Babylon will feel the fury of this terrible weapon. This weapon will hit our entire country, and all our defenses will be in vain. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet the spoilers come unto her. This weapon paralyzes our military and leaves it almost defenseless. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. Their might hath failed. The broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire. She hath given her hand. Her foundations are fallen. Her walls are thrown down, because the spoiler is come upon her, even upon Babylon. And her mighty men are taken. Every one of their bows is broken. And after the attack, Babylon is left silent and in darkness. Sit thou silent, and get thee into darkness, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. It is obvious that Babylon, or Mystery Babylon, can't be ancient Iraq. Babylon mounts up to heaven and ascends above the heights of the clouds. These metaphors clearly reference a nation that has discovered flight. But the prophets have more to say about this end times nation. Babylon is hailed as a queen among nations, the Lady of Kingdoms. According to the prophets, Babylon reigneth over the kings of the earth. It is the praise of the entire earth, and an astonishment among the nations. It is a place of great riches, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. In fact, the prophets say clearly that should something happen to Babylon, all worldwide trade would stop. The merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, because no one buys their cargoes anymore. It is the #1 military power, and it's called the hammer of the whole earth. Isaiah in verse 18, chapter 2, talks about how Babylon's beginning would be unique and awe-inspiring. America was created out of the former British colonies, a nation made out of many states just like the prophets foretold. Our ancestors were the first British colonists, and we speak their language. That's the reason why Jeremiah sees England like a mother to the U.S., according to verse 50, chapter 12. More so, the prophets talk about the lion that is on the sigil of the mother of Babylon. England uses the lion as its royal symbol. The last crew the prophets left us is incredibly accurate. The scripture often refers to Babylon as a woman. According to the book of Revelations, she sits atop water and has a golden cup in her right hand and a crown of 7 rays on her head. And the woman which thou sawest in that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. The United Nations, in theory, reigns over all the kings of the earth, and is situated in New York, the great city where you can see the statue. The statue is the most well-known landmark in the U.S., and the symbol of Babylon the prophets are referring to in their clues. So why, then, are they also calling it the Whore of Babylon? The sculptor of the Statue of Liberty was Auguste Bertholdi, a Mason belonging to the Great Masonic Lodge in Paris. Before beginning the Statue of Liberty project, Bertholdi was seeking commission to construct a giant statue of the goddess Ishtar. The Romans also adopted this fertility goddess, but they changed the name to Libertas in Latin, Liberty in English. Libertas is the mythological equivalent of Ishtar. Therefore, the Statue of Liberty is in fact a statue of Ishtar, the Babylonian goddess of fertility, love, and sex. According to the ancient Babylonian rituals, one could only be purified of sin after intercourse with a temple priest or priestess of Ishtar. In return for this salvation, a gift offering was needed. Ishtar was the patron mother of the temple priestesses and priests. She was the mother of what we would call today prostitution. This is why Ishtar was seen by early Christians as the whore of Babylon. And that is why the Statue of Liberty, the symbol of America, is also called by the prophets the whore of Babylon. Do you think it is just a coincidence that the U.S., the home of the greatest and most famous statue of Ishtar, provides 65% of pornographic movies and adult entertainment to the world? Is it just another coincidence that this is the country where sexual liberation originated and spread to the rest of the world? It's not. It's just like the scriptures foretold. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The U.S. today has the most powerful economy and military, controls worldwide commerce, is proud and arrogant, has the most developed Air Force and space program, and it is the envy of the world. It houses the whore of Babylon. It reigns over the kings of the earth. And unfortunately for every living American, it is Mystery Babylon. This is what the prophets say about the great enemy of Babylon. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Remember which country the prophet said was from the north? The same country that Ezekiel said will lead a great alliance of nations to the borders of Israel? All three prophets tell of the fall of Babylon, the destruction of the United States of America as we know it. This is not an event that happened to ancient Babylon in the past. History has never recorded the fall of a state or a city in the way described by the prophets.
That being said, in one day and in 1 hour, it says that Babylon will be destroyed.
It says in a single day, in a single hour. In a single hour, in a single hour. Says it 3 times. Instantly, everything's totally normal, and then it's just done. It's instantly over. And the whole world is so rocked that it literally requires a restructuring of the whole face of the earth. So this gets into what's going on currently, even with Iran and Russia and China and Ukraine and Cuba and Argentina and Argentina and Guyana and the Congo and everything is set at this fever pitch to do what God has already said he's going to do, which everything will be normal, and then it's not. And the particular nuance to that is the United States of America contained within that. Ezekiel 38 and 39 specifically list countries by name and some of the ruling principalities over those countries that will form an alliance conspiring in secret to come against the nation of unwalled villages. Hello, North American continent, United States of America in particular. And in an instant, while they're unaware, to completely do a decapitation attack so that they can come against the nation of Israel. And so what we see going on right now with Iranian influence, the Chinese influence, the Russian influence, with inside the United States of America, coming across our border, in our cybernetics, inside our power grid, inside our government, inside our joint chiefs, inside our county road commissioners, and the missile tests from Russia just on May 16th, right off the coast of California, literally just touching the border of our territorial waters. They put up a space-based anti-satellite weapon right overhead. North Korea has 2 satellites that traverse the continental United States multiple times a day for years, and they have never once sent data out. They are loitering munitions, waiting for the single day, for the single hour. The Chinese balloon fiascos going on. That is not by any means a coincidence. They from the open source intel that I've read, is that they were actively signal intelligence gathering balloons. And what they were doing was pulling the codes of our terrestrial-based missile centers in Montana and Wyoming and North Dakota, and even down into Nebraska. Most people don't realize Nebraska is one of our chief centers for all nuclear deterrent and nuclear weapons launching. Stratcom and all that kind of stuff is outside of Omaha. But that the open source intel said that they specifically were allowed by our government to pull the codes to impede the launch directives from the nuclear football contained within inside the executive branch, to delay them by 6 minutes. It was very specific, to delay a nuclear retaliatory strike by 6 minutes.
Why?
Side note on that. Why? And only Jesus, unless you become like one of these children, you cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven. You cannot inherit it unless your identity is so childlike in Christ alone that he is your all sufficiency for all things, and you have actually made him your dwelling place, your hiding place, your place of refuge, and you have made the deliberate, willful choice to abide in him and him alone. Your heart is actually going to fail you for what you see coming next.
There is a storm coming like nothing you have ever seen, and not a one of you is prepared for it.
It's the apocalypse, end of days, the judgment day, the end of the world, my friend. Christians called it the rapture, but the Mayans knew about it, the Hopis, the I Ching, the Bible.
I'm telling you, God is looking for some people that would worship him in spirit